Yep.
I like it.
Good morning, and welcome to Dualitea Podcast. I am your host, Ash, and I have a very, very special guest here today that wasn't necessarily planned, but super, super excited to have you on here. My best friend, Bree, my best friend, Yaga,
Hey.
aka Yagachino, many different Yags. And, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you'll find out. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We have them every day, but now people can join in with us.
Right.
So, just to catch you guys up to speed, me and Bree pretty much have a podcast every morning, kind of just debriefing on our days and things that we need to talk about before we go to our tasks and things that we need to do. And so it's cool that we're having this one in person today.
Right. And usually we just do this kind of thing over the phone, before getting ready for the function and going to the function and maybe even walking into the function and just saying, oh, okay, I got to go now, bye. So, yeah, it's nice to finally be in your space and see what you do here.
Right. It's cool. It's just like literally the same thing, just with microphones. So, same thing, same difference. But yeah, so topic. First of all, I had to take a month off. Forgive me. But I'm back. And the topic of today is don't get lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? Don't get lost in the sauce. We're all prone to getting lost in the sauce, taking a dip in the marinara, you know what I mean? Whatever sauce it is, I invite you that when someone says, don't get lost in the sauce, to really think about what is the sauce that you envision when someone says that, For me, it was pasta. I was just picturing swimming in a bowl of pasta, you know what I mean? Specifically penne, but everyone has a different imagination. You might envision hot sauce, barbecue sauce, whatever the case is. I'm a saucy person. There's a lot of songs about being saucy,
True that.
I loved the variation that I had, because usually when I make a flyer, I try to find a song that matches the theme. And there was quite a few to pick from. So that was appreciated, because sometimes there's not at all.
But now, before we even dive into the sauce, where my brain goes first is, how do you define the sauce?
Thank you for bringing that up. There's multiple definitions of what the sauce could be.
True. Right.
And so in reference to what I was just saying before, I say I could be saucy. What does that mean? It's well, in my definition of, and from what I gather from different songs, as well, what a lot of people's definition could be do I have too much sauce? Am I too much? Am I giving a lot at once? What does that mean? Do I have a big personality? Do I take up space too much for you? Am I too much for you? But it doesn't mean that am I too much in general? Sometimes it could be oh, you're saucy. Maybe you're extra sassy today, or maybe you're giving a lot of personality and attitude, or whatever the case is. But there's the sauce that, that's more, I guess if someone says too much sauce, right? And then don't get lost in the sauce. In that context, I believe it's just a way of saying don't get lost in the mix, don't get lost in all the things that are happening around us all the time, everything all at once, everywhere, right? And especially right now, we're wrapping up retrograde, and it's been peaking, over the past week, 2 weeks, and a lot of people have been feeling it. And I decided not to title this podcast something astrological, because I wanted to make it more accessible for those who don't really know or don't resonate with the concepts of astrology, even though we're all affected by the different things that happen in the world. Looking at it in a different perspective. Maybe you don't care about retrograde, but maybe you've been lost in the sauce in the past few weeks, and we could talk about that. I know for myself, the past few weeks have definitely invited me to look at some blind spots and some maybe weaker points that I have within my own being, or field, or like mental capacity, emotional capacity, and things of that sort, by showing me what can trigger me, or like what can affect me, you know. And you know, have you been having a similar experience at this time? Like, have you noticed that, like, during this time period over the course of the last few weeks, do you notice anything that's been like heightened for you or anything like that?
Sure, I would say so. Definitely during this retrograde period, I do see things of that sort kind of like coming up for me. But it's interesting that you put it in perspective of like too much sauce, which like this makes me think of like multiple song titles, right? Like, like feeling saucy, too much sauce. And then it makes me think like, well, sometimes there's good sauce and then sometimes there's bad sauce.
Right.
Like sometimes there's sauce that you buy, maybe you're at the supermarket and like you want to feel adventurous and you try out a new sauce and like that sauce doesn't pan out quite how you like it to. Then there's sauces sometimes that like you make at home, and those are, you know, really good and fulfilling. And how much time do you put into your sauce?
Right.
Like
what are the ingredients?
What are the ingredients in
How
your
many
sauce?
layers did you develop in your sauce?
Right. And then that makes you think like, can you be too much? You know? Probably. Yeah. Because I don't want to judge someone's sauce because like they took time and effort to make their sauce.
Right. But what if they put like a pound of oregano in it? Like that would be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
For me.
You're right.
But not for someone who absolutely loves oregano.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like what are our biases surrounding the making of the sauce? And like what do we like going into it that maybe someone else wouldn't like?
Garlic.
Right.
Never too much.
Never too much.
My opinion. But, you know, like, but to bring it back, like, and to take it out of the metaphor and put it into the actual, like, every person is different, and everyone, you're not going to like everybody. You're not going to like everything. Doesn't mean that, you know, that person's doing something wrong innately. I mean, sometimes things can be done not the way you would do them. And sometimes there is like, okay, like you're literally not achieving the thing. So something isn't happening to do it. And that's a different conversation. But like, as far as like saucy, you know, like personality, flavor, you might not like a flavor of the way someone or something is being presented, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or wrong. It just might not be for you. And I feel like we can even do that with ourselves, like, you know, give off a flavor, sensation, and action that we don't even necessarily like within ourselves. And I feel like, you know, like I put in the caption, life gets loud and people get messy, but sometimes we do too. And like to hold ourselves accountable, to find our feet before we trip, you know, because even if you do trip and you get back up, like to not trip again, you know, it's okay to fall down. It's okay to fail. It's okay to do things imperfectly. Just realizing, and I think like the awareness, the accountability of like how you got there, like even as simple as literally tripping, like sometimes we trip because we're not present. We're not in our feet. We're thinking, we're thinking about the next place we have to go and the things we have to buy and the Christmas gifts and this and that. And then because we're not being mindful, we didn't realize that there was a shoe on the floor in front of us and we tripped.
Sure. Right. It makes me think of like two separate songs, right? Aaliyah, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again, like that whole line. But then it also makes me think of Fergie, Clumsy, right? She's like, you got me tripping, stumbling, whatever she says.
Yeah, I don't know what the next part is, actually.
Yeah. You know the next part?
No, I don't. I don't. That's
well, she says clumsy because I'm falling in love.
Right.
But she just like wasn't being mindful. She kind of like fell head over heels over, or maybe she was being mindful, but she got lost in the sauce maybe.
She got lost in the sauce. Yeah. It's very easy to get lost in the sauce when you fall in love.
Right. So true.
It's very, very easy to do that. Yeah. You know, and it's just like big emotions, not like falling in love, the action of you know, especially romantically, like considering another person as like a potential life partner or a person that you're going to have a future with, considering that, nonetheless the action of it happening it can, depending on the person, depending on the capacity, but like if you allow it to have space, you know, measuring out like, okay, what is giving, can I give it, how much space can I give this without getting lost in the sauce? And like some people don't give it any space because they don't want to get lost in the sauce. They fear it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to distract myself. I don't want to not prioritize the things that I have to do and lose my sovereignty. Therefore, no sauce is given here, or minimal sauce, you know? And then there's people that are like, yo, like, I'm fucking diving deep into this and I'm swimming, but I'm also not prioritizing myself, not doing the things that I need to do for myself. And, you know, and then you can't like you got to find a ledge to pull yourself up from, because at the end of the day, whether you're falling in love or you're falling in love with a person, or maybe it's even like an activity or craft, you can get lost in the sauce of like a passion. Like you like to sing, rap, you know, knit, do pottery, like make soap, whatever it is. You can get lost in anything if you give it all of your attention, you know? So it's like, I feel like you can get lost in the sauce by giving something all of your attention or not giving it any. It's just an imbalance of attention, really, when you think about it, because, you know, you can kind of, you don't necessarily, it's the amount of time that we're saying sauce in this episode already, but like you can navigate the sauce, right? If you are being present with yourself, so you're not getting lost in it. It's only when you're not giving it enough space, where it's subconsciously pulling you in, or when you are giving it too much space where you're just like in it.
Right.
With no way out.
So there's seemingly like an underlying theme that's I'm like hearing in this. You know, we're calling it sauce, which I think is beautiful. It's great. But there's also like an underlying theme that like exists. I mean, the first one I heard was like not being good enough, or maybe not knowing if you're saying too much, if you're doing too much, just like an insecurity, like a fear of like you are not going to be received well if you maybe, you know,
behave in this way.
Paula Deanne's are doing too much, you know? But then there's the other theme of like, well, like, how do I navigate my emotions to be sure that I'm grounded, and whatever I put out there, you know, I may ride the waves of my emotions and this roller coaster, and I may come off like a little bit bumpy, but even how I put myself out there, hopefully that can be well received. You know, as long as you're being true to yourself and considering the ramifications of what, you know, your output is around others.
100%. Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. It's like, you know, it's our perception of either way, our perception of our reality, right? In the aspect of like, is this person, is my perception, how am I being perceived, right? And then like, how am I perceiving the situation? And, you know, it's what we do all the time, every day, with every situation, is perceive or think about being perceived. And, you know, I feel like for me, how I don't get lost in the sauce, how I don't feel like I have too much sauce, is by just checking in with myself, like feeling my feet and being like, well, you know, say I'm wearing like, you know, a bright scarf, whatever, like, is that doing too much? No, I love these colors. I wanted to wear this scarf. I feel good in it. So therefore, I'm not doing too much in that. You know, that's a way I can ground. I ask myself questions, I inquire. And then the same thing goes for when it comes to people and like navigating, like being in it, like being in the mix, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying not to say sauce so much anymore, but you know, in the, you know, blank. But I think about it like, you know, situations that have come up recently that we've discussed is like, okay, like where am I not honoring my needs? Like where am I overcompensating behavior to like address what's in front of me rather than what's within me, you know?
Example?
Example, like, for example, let's say you know you have things to do at home. Like you have to do whatever, do your laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a potential reality where you might have plans to do other things, and you're more excited to do those things, whether the person or the other parties are really asking or warranting, or like it's coming from you, like no one's like, let's absolutely do this, like, it's like, that's how I know when I'm getting lost in the sauce, because it's like literally no one's pressuring you but yet your FOMO and your like consideration of a potential reality of doing an activity or doing something is more excitable to me than doing something like mundane that I have to do, rather than doing it in between. So it's like I have to reel it in to prioritize myself to not get lost in the sauce. So yes, I can still go out and do whatever the activity is, but after I do my laundry. And like that's a part of growing up and being an adult and like just learning how to navigate those things. But what I'm saying, like, of course those things will always exist, but it's a stronger pull when there's higher emotions, like heightened emotions. And sometimes that could be platonically, if you're like excited to like hang out or be around somebody, if you're feeling like you want to connect with people. Sometimes that could be romantically, if you're like just getting to know someone, they're new and they're exciting to you. It could be, once again, an activity, or that's a community activity. It could be anything, that those are the regions of or the territories that I notice. I can be prone to get lost in the sauce, or lost in the mix, where I start to not prioritize myself and my needs, and me holding myself accountable without being shameful has been a new variant of my growth. So I'm grateful for that,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. It did, yeah. Because we're focusing on the aspect of like so many things. It could be friendships, and it could be a relationship, and my brain just always just like thinks musically. I just can't help it. But the song that has been on repeat for a little bit for me is "How Did You Get Here?" And who sings that one? I think Deborah Cox sings that one.
I think so.
Yeah. Right. But she says in one line, heaven sent to fulfill my needs. But when I turn around, again, love has knocked me down. My heart got broken, though it hurt so bad. I'm sad to say love wins again. So should I place my heart under lock and key, or take some time and take care of me? And first off, if anyone just looks up this song, there is a version of this song that is like the dance song that most people know. And it's so good. It's like such like a childhood memory of the song being played. But when you listen to the slow version of that song, wow, I mean, it's just the original. It's not the slow version. It's just literally the original. But it's so good, and it hits in a different way. And I think it's true. Like when we are in the stages of maybe a new friendship or maybe a new relationship, like sometimes we get caught up, and our needs aren't always being met. We overlook those things. And I think that's what you're saying too, is like, how do I put sauce into myself? Like, how do I ground myself and keep my feet on the ground while also maybe pouring into someone else or something? But I think that song just does such a beautiful job, because it's in her perspective. Like she's saying, I always thought it came from this perspective of like being this independent person and being so independent minded, and saying, I don't need to love anymore. That's not something that's on the table for me. But instead, like what it actually sounds like is something in the past may have triggered her to be a little bit more closed off. She's acknowledging that, she's feeling that, she's understanding that. And now when someone is taking time to step into the picture and she turns around and she says, how did you get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. Period.
Profound, really.
Really. I mean, such like a new understanding and like love for that song.
Right. No, once you put me on, I was like borderline in tears. I'm like, same, Deborah. Same. Like, nobody's supposed to be here.
Nobody's supposed
How did
to
you
be
get
here.
here?
How did you get here?
How are you? You know, there's a song by shout out to Sal. There's a song by Alessia Cara. I forgot what it's called, but it's a similar note, and it's really cute. We'll listen to it after. But it's essentially the same, like the same feeling, the same sensation. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're over here and you're loving me properly? Like I don't know if I was like prepared for this again, like, you know, but here we are. And I'm open to it, but I'm like,
right.
I'm like, all right, I guess we'll try this again.
Right. You're vulnerable to it.
Right. You're not like, oh my God, I'm so ready. It's like, okay, buckle up, you know, but not in like the super apprehensive way that you're actually closed off, but just like, all right, I guess, like, like you're right. This does make sense, but I'm going to roll my eyes about
let's
it.
try it. You know, let's see where this takes us.
Yeah. And that's like a song from the sauce.
Ooh, that is a song from the sauce.
In it.
Right.
Navigating it.
She's navigating it. Right.
She like found the platform in the sauce to make that song from it, to deliver the message. Like, here we are. Let's make sense of it.
Right.
It's an interesting concept to think about. Like, how do you deal with mess? Like, how do you deal with, you know, big emotions are not clean cut. You know, they can be mixy and messy. You know, like, yeah, when you boil them down and you take a pie chart and you get to the root, like, yeah, it can be in one way or another clean cut, but it doesn't express, it doesn't emote clearly all the time, because like, although things can be boiled down simply, us as humans have a really incredible talent at making everything very complicated. So by the time it's getting expressed, it's gone through so many filters and so many lenses of the individual and their experiences that it is not clear to other people.
Right.
Because how could you pick up on all of the years and experiences and thoughts of that person in one moment, which leads us to misunderstandings, which leads us to miscommunications. And there's a space where, you know, okay, like, how do we give grace? You know, where does the line of giving grace for others and giving grace for ourselves, like determining that, you know, okay, I can understand maybe this person or the situation maybe there's a miscommunication, or maybe that lied in like their experience in life and their understandings simultaneously. Like, am I okay if this is a constant? Like, am I okay? Like, is it compromising my own needs?
Right.
You know, and I think that can kind of get complicated when it comes to a lot of just like defining boundaries. That could even be like, you know, that could be with friendships, that could be with work, that could be with, you know, relationships, like family, you know, where it's like, okay, like, and I think that, you know, I don't know, how do you navigate that space?
I feel like the first thing that you said is like so invaluable. So I think it starts with is understanding your own emotions, because like we do so much filtering.
Right.
So the first thing that usually comes up with us is the unfiltered version of ourselves, which, you know, when you're on the spot, when you're in person with someone, or when you're working with someone, you don't always have the chance to to filter out what you're going to say next. But I think part of it is feeling the sensations happening in your body. Most of the time for me, like I know it's going to be a couple of emotions. It's going to feel like anger. It's going to feel maybe underneath that is sadness, but anger, anxiety, and sadness. Yeah, I really think those are the big three that come up. And first, feeling where in my body that it's happening to me is like my first step that I need to take in order to feel grounded. So like it's a real time practice as it's happening. I feel it come up. How do I know? Like my face is getting flustered, my body, and I could feel it in my back. I feel it in my wrist, or I'm feeling some kind of pain, some kind of ache, and just identifying where that is first before I say what's on my mind, because I know that what I may say can be either quick, and I know that, as an Aries too, I'm very quick to say things that I don't always mean. It's just more so like it's the first unfiltered thought rushing through my head. So I want to make sure that I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. I want to be considerate when I'm saying something, because in my head it could seem lighthearted and funny, but maybe because I'm angry, or maybe because it's quick in passing, the intensity of what I'm saying, maybe hits a little harder than I anticipated, and that's where the miscommunication
you have an Aries
happen.
Mercury, right?
I do, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but then you have, not to put your whole chart out there, but
Right.
you have other things in your chart that definitely help to slow it down.
Balance it a little bit, right? But like, and they're also like my sun and my moon are in conjunct with each other, and they're kind of like opposing, they're like fighting, they're at odds with each other sometimes. So it's not the best approach sometimes, but I think that would be the first step, is just feeling the emotion, feeling where it's at, and then understanding that it's okay. Like, this is an okay thing. I've been through this before, and I'll probably be able to get through this again. But I think it's important to remember that the person on the other side of this is not your mortal enemy.
Right. And they're also not privy to like what's happening like in that moment. I mean, not everyone, like maybe me, but like not everyone's gonna like understand the buildup or be able to visually see that, like, your close people might be able to identify when you're having a process, but like another person might not. And also your close people might not be able to. Maybe they can on a good day, but maybe on another day they're just not picking up on the social cues because they're too in their head. Mm-hmm. It's also not their responsibility.
Right. It's not their responsibility to do that. And, I think with like life and experience, we have enough interactions with people that we really get to kind of like smooth out, I guess the kinks of what that could be. Like, we have an opportunity to kind of like smooth those over. But ideally, like getting back to what you had said, it's hopefully we get to do that enough so that it doesn't continue to be like a recurring pattern.
Right. Yeah. And just like honoring ourselves too, like if we're noticing that something, that someone or some place or whatever is something outside of ourselves, if we're noticing that there's a certain behavior that is happening that feels like, and obviously there's a season for everything. Sometimes like someone's going through something and sometimes you're going through something. So there's grace for like when things are like seeming like different or dissonance is happening. Usually that's because dissonance is happening within that person or their life or whatever the case is. And I'm very prone to doing that too. Mm-hmm. That's why usually when I'm in that state, I'll kind of like, I'm an over explainer, like in case you guys didn't catch that part, but like I like to make sure that you don't even have to give mental thought to what I'm thinking, because I'll just directly tell you all of my thoughts.
So many people appreciate that, and so many people maybe aren't used to it, so maybe it can almost cause dissonance in their being as well. Like maybe they're more avoidant from having those very transparent conversations. But then there's other people who are like, thank you for expressing everything that you just said right now. So I know that I'm safe with you, and I know that, you know, there's nothing that I did that might have offended
Right.
you, or, you know.
It's literally one of my favorite things.
Right.
It's like literally one of my favorite things, like romantically, platonically, work-wise, familiar-wise. Like, I want to know. I would love to know. If you feel comfortable and safe and have the capacity to articulate the sensations, the thoughts, and the experiences that you're having in your brain, I don't have to automatically, because I do have an automatic setting in my head, the moment I notice energy shift, to try to figure out why, you know? So if you can help me just a little, not have to expend energy in that while I'm also simultaneously just working on not doing that already, it's like, I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you. It's like getting off of work early, you know? It's just like, it's like, I don't need to do all that. You're right. Thank you, you know, and it's a beautiful thing. I love when people do that, and I love to provide that for people. Like you said, not everybody has the capacity to receive that, though. Sometimes it could be overwhelming for people. They're like, whoa, I didn't need you to explain all that. I'm like, but I want to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for taking the time to prep the sauce.
Right.
You put, you know, you seasons your sauce well.
Which is perfectly described, because think about it. Think about it when it comes to prepping something, right? Every person is going to be different. So there's going to be people, if they trust you and they have the same flavor profile as you, and you prep the sauce, or say there's the recipe and they just did it for you and they set it up. If you trust that person, it's relieving, because now you don't have to do as much work. But if you don't trust that person, or if you don't have the capacity to surrender control, then that might irritate you, because you're going to look at that sauce and you're going to be like, well, I didn't do it. So I don't even know if it's good.
Sure. But either way, there's definitely medicine in that sauce.
There's medicine
There's
there.
medicine, because you just set
in the space,
the groundwork for them.
Right.
Right.
There's medicine for them to receive, because at the end of the day, there's a difference. Just like somebody just being like, okay, I'm going to just like put things together and ignore the recipe and just get this ready for you. Meanwhile, it's like, at that point, why'd you even do it? You know, what does that translate to be? There's people that can tell you their thoughts, but they're not even sure of their thoughts. They're not even sure of their sensations. So at that point, yeah, it can kind of not feel as good to like have the extra communication, because it almost just feels like fluff, because they haven't sat with that information. So it's like, yeah, it could be a little irritating. The same way someone preparing something who is unprepared already can be irritating. That is up to us to discern what kind of people we want around us. Do you want people that you can trust to prep for you? You know, do you want people that you can trust to articulate or like be at the same foundational level? Like, you might be in different stages and different vibrations, different whatever you want to say, like, you know, wavelengths at different times. But foundationally, morally, like, are you on the same page or a similar one? You know, and if you're not, then no matter what you're going to do, it's not going to land. And if it does, it'll be temporary. And then until the uncovering of rose glasses comes up, you know, like with anything.
Right. And I think it's like, you could like a different kind of sauce altogether than what I would like. But as long as you know how to make my sauce, right? So like, you're putting in the time and effort to understand me and like understand where it is that I'm coming from.
Right.
So I think that's appreciated. And of course, we're not always used to people who take the extra step, but I really appreciate people who take the time, that make you feel seen, that make you feel safe enough. And this isn't like all fields of work. Like, I have an amazing personal trainer, and he takes the time to just essentially like lay down the framework and say like, you good? Like, you okay?
Like, checking in.
Yeah, and I just appreciate that little check-in. And sure, like maybe some people aren't used to that, and that could like rub them the wrong way. But like, shout out to so many people in their lines of work who do take that little extra step to make you feel like you're being listened to.
I feel like most of the people who get irritated by like being seen have just coached themselves out of, this is completely, you know, my perspective here and my opinion, but I've noticed that a lot of people who are afraid to be seen to that degree where like a check-in bothers them have coached themselves to not want to be seen in any capacity because maybe they were neglected in one way or another, and like haven't and desired to so deeply that they had to like shut that down and be like, I don't want to be seen, like I'm not going to be seen. So then when they're seen, how it's touching on all of that, and if they're not ready for it, you're the trigger to it, you know.
Right.
But if you're like unpacking that, which I would encourage you to, if you do find yourself in that state, because, you know, at the end of the day, there's certain protection and coping mechanisms that we acquire that we outgrow, you know, and that can be outdated. So I do, if that is something that resonated with you, I do encourage you to, you know, when you have the capacity to take space to kind of chip at that, because when you have a strong aversion, it's usually coming from the fact that you actually like, it's an unmet need that you require. And like, why judge yourself for wanting to have human connection? Why judge yourself for wanting to be seen in the light? Like, it doesn't mean that you need all of the attention from everybody at all times. Like, for example, I can get a lot of anxiety about being seen. When I walk into a room, I have a lot of anxiety, like all the time. My whole life, like I always would prep, like, oh my God, I'm going to a party. Like I just need to get in the room. Once I get in the room, same thing with the gym, same thing with anything. I just need to get in the room. Once I get in the room, I'm good. But it's just that first initial, you know, that gives me anxiety, you know. But at the same token, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I want to be seen. I want you to understand me. I don't want you to be on your phone, like looking at something and then like half giving me attention when I really need the attention. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. And this is like the interesting shift, I think, generationally that we are seeing now because of the introduction of technology just kind of speeding up as quickly as it has been. Is, you know, you could be in the same room with someone, and I mean, I see it often, like you could be out to eat with someone and you see that the person across from the other person is on their phone. Right. And I think sometimes it's valid. A lot of occupations these days like require a smartphone. Like it requires you checking your email. So it's
but like momentary, not like the entire time.
right.
Yeah.
Indeed. And you know, sometimes if it's just two friends who are hanging out, how often are we actually checking in and making sure that we're looking at each other, connecting with each other thoughtfully, or are we looking down at our phones?
Or even are we simply in our heads thinking about another situation that has nothing to do with what's going on in front of us?
Right. Just not being present in general, because our attention spans are
shrinking rapidly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's so true. And it's like, once again, the quickest way to not trip yourself up is to find your feet. How can you expect yourself to walk gracefully if you don't know where your next step is going to be, because you can't even sense where you are? You know, it's fast track to getting lost in the sauce. You know, I picture like quicksand. You know, it's so funny. I seen a meme the other day and it's like, why were we more like so anxious about like coming across quicksand in our lives, like more than we ever needed to be? But you know, I don't know, but I mean, that's kind of random anyway. But like, yeah, so it's important, once again. But even, I mean, if I hear, actually it's random, but it's relevant in a way, because it's like, how do you get out of quicksand? You know, you don't move around a lot. You have to be still, or else you will sink. Like, you can't be moving around and fighting and tussling, because then it's pulling you down. You have to be still. And if I'm not mistaken, like, take small steps up or wait till someone can pull you out.
This is the moment that we would take out our phones. and research.
Right, to see the answer.
Yeah, like, well, what is the answer here?
I know it's something along the lines of that, you know. We were prepared for this moment for throughout our lives as millennials.
Just kidding.
But also not though,
Right,
because
right.
that's so real. Like if we were sitting at a cafe right now, I'd be like, all right, hold on, let me check.
Right, 100%.
You know, we have the world in our palms when it comes to our phones, and we're prone to just leaning on it. I said something the other day. I forgot what I said, but I was like, ew. I said something like, yeah, like I depend on. Oh, I was like, I depend on voice to text. Like I don't want to text. Like, given I'm dyslexic, given that causes a trickle of things, you know, like it's harder for me to spell words. It's harder for me. I understand definitions, and that doesn't affect that. But like to actually type, the actual action of typing. Once phones didn't have a keyboard and I couldn't feel a button, I was uninterested in texting. Bring back the sidekick.
Right. Bring back the QWERTY keyboards. That's what we need.
QWERTY.
Yeah.
Bring them back. Even with my laptop, it's a flat keyboard. So I got like the typewriter Bluetooth keyboard. I got like a little setup. It's like a little, and I'm into it because I like to hear it. I like to feel it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And there's just certain things that help click things in the mind. And I feel like bringing it back to the conversation, for me, my flavor, how I flavor my sauce, my interactions, my experience, and who I am in my life, in my world, I prefer transparent communication to clear the air on anything that can be confusing, whether that's uncomfortable or not. I would rather have an uncomfortable conversation clearly with a person eye to eye than wonder and ponder and be unclear on what is actually happening in between me and this individual, if it's my shit or if it's my stuff or if it's their stuff, you know? So it's like, it really, really just depends on what you're navigating and where you're at. Because for me to get myself out of the mix and out of the confusion and out of like being distracted from myself requires getting uncomfortable, asking uncomfortable questions to myself. And, you know, sharing those questions that I'm inquiring to myself with others that I find close to me and being like, hey, am I bugging? You know, like, hey, like I don't actually like that I did this. What do you think about this? You know, or I'm navigating this, or I'm coming out of this. And I realize how I could have done it better. I think the key point is just like shame will bring you down into the quicksand. Like shame will suck you in where you're getting consumed by everything. I could have done this better. I should have done this better. No, what's the difference between I should have done this better, I could have done this better, why didn't I do this better, then I could have done this better. Next time I will. Maybe I don't really like the way that made me feel, so how can I do this better? You know, the sensations are completely different. It's shame and curiosity. You know, like, looking at it without being completely consumed by imperfection. As a perfectionist or a recovering perfectionist, like that can be a challenge within itself, especially if it's in a realm of a topic that I feel like I know better. But I'm still a human. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to disappoint myself and other people. It's not an if, it's a when. And how do I recover? How do I rebound from that? Or do I continue to do that until I hit a certain type of point?
Yes, I agree. And I think that we need a little bit more of what you just said. We need a little bit more of the transparency aspect to it. There's a woman that I spoke with recently, and she had brought up a really great point of what someone had said to her. And it's almost, I guess it's kind of, I wouldn't call it a sandwich method, but the way that someone had approached her, they said, you know what? One of my key core values is honesty. And I guess this person had something, you know, in their teeth, like maybe like a little piece of like black pepper or something.
We can get into that.
And she said one of my key core values is honesty. And I just want to let you know that you have a little something in your teeth. And sure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But her saying that, she was like, you know what? Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I guess it can kind of also be used in other ways too. Like, how do we say things to people
Without embarrassing them?
without, how do we bring difficult conversations? How do we shift the culture so that we have conversations where, irregardless, our triggers will arise from uncomfortable conversations, but how do we just provide the safest groundwork, you know, so that we can navigate hard conversations? Because holding something back from someone, you know, it could be, if there is someone who is consistently talking about a problem, but they are not giving solutions as to how you can solve that issue, but then behind your back to other people, they're saying, well, I don't like this person's work ethic, you know, or as a friend, I don't appreciate when she does X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, we do need to maybe give grace and allow people to be presented with this issue at hand first. And sure, like maybe not everyone has, I think not everyone has the communication skills. It's just something that is not taught to us from when we're young, as to how to navigate that. But I think we could do someone such a service to them by having hard and difficult conversations that I think ultimately would help them. And it would be a disservice if we kept that information from them. What do you think of that?
I 100%, 110% agree. I think that there's a lot of factors that come into why people don't do it. I think that there's layers and levels to it. I think that it all is surrounded by fear of hurting someone's feelings. Or it could also be like, I don't have time to like put effort into this. Do I care enough? You know, do I care enough to give this space? Is it going to make a difference? You know, I think that those are thoughts that come up for people. Like, is it worth me expending my energy? But at the same token, like, that's a preconceived notion from your own lens. You don't know. You can only know what you've seen of that person. And yes, you can use context clues in history, but at the same token, like, you're presenting them a new experience in a new way, and you're the one presenting it. So why sleep on your own energy to have the capacity to transform a situation, place, and circumstance? And then there's the lens of like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. But at the same token, like if you're talking, like, you know, if you're talking behind their back, if you're talking things like, you know, it's important to check in and call yourself in and being like, well, if I don't like this, then like I need to change something about it. I need to have a direct conversation so at least I know what I'm dealing with. Because if you have the courage, it takes courage. It takes courage. So either are you going to be courageous or are you going to be cowardly? And in not to be so harsh, but like, are you going to be I was going to say reserved, but I'm going to say cowardly again. Are you going to be cowardly to like not actually present what's so important and lighting you up passionately, out of fear of how it may or may not be received? At the end of the day, you're putting your intention out there. Therefore, the universe, the world, God, whatever you believe in is going to have a response to that. That's your journey. If that information and that data is coming to you in that way, that's your journey, regardless of the outcome. Are you going to determine you rationalizing and trying to compute and formulate what an outcome would be before doing it? Be the lead in your decision making. Are you a computer or are you a human being? Because a computer, AI, all of these different things can sit there and algorithm and use the best formats for the best probabilities. And yeah, we can do that too. But what about the essence of you? What about your sauce? What about your flavor, your juice, like who you are, your zhuzh? Like, are you going to leave that out? Because I think that's important. It's actually very important. And in fact, it's probably one of the best things that you can provide in this space is your energy. And that cannot be replicated. That cannot be behind an algorithm. In fact, that is the most important thing, and that can motivate, change, transform, and create new environments and opportunities in every given situation. Because yes, anyone can follow a recipe. But what's the difference between, that one person that makes that dish that you're like, oh, but when they make it, it's so good. Like, it hits different, Their energy, their medicine, their intention, their love, their choice of ingredients. Maybe they get organic, like you don't know. Like, there's certain things that cannot be explained when you take it and you put it on paper. Mm-hmm. On paper is on paper. It's 2-dimensional. We're 3-dimensional beings that have a multi-dimensional capacity. How are we going to look at something that's just 2-dimensional and just be like, try to equate it to every living person? We literally live in a different dimension from it. Not to be like metaphysical, but to be more scientific. Like, literally one thing is that way and it's flat and you're reading it. And the other thing is like this and you're feeling it and you're seeing it and you're sensing it. So don't sleep on your capacity to be the energy that's exactly needed in the situation. If that situation and something's irritating you or coming up for you for whatever reason, you saying what you need to say may very well be the thing that person needs to hear in order for them to have the motivation to change maybe something they've been working on for a very long time. Maybe it's not even out of ill intent, or like maybe it's just coming from lack. Maybe their needs aren't being met. Therefore, they can't fulfill and show up in a certain way that they would like to. Maybe you showing them that would be like, oh, wow, actually I could do better in that. Or maybe not. Maybe they're like, go after yourself, or like whatever the case is. And maybe they give you a horrible reaction. Then you know how to move. Mm-hmm. Either way, you're not stuck anymore.
Right.
You know how to move. If that person gives you the reaction that you're afraid to receive, you take that on the chin and you move accordingly. I know that this person and I are not operating from the same space. Therefore, I'm not meant to be here in this way. Therefore, I need to be the change.
Right.
If you can't change with me, I need to be the change, and I need to see myself in another situation, space, and place.
Definitely. And you know what? Even if it's not well received, too, there's always feedback that you can take, and that feedback can be brought back to yourself again and say, okay, well, was my delivery great? Right. Was I having a hard day? And were there things that were leading up to this that maybe this should not have been the moment that I divulged this information, or that I wanted to have this conversation? And maybe I could have waited until I was in a better spot to speak about this. And I'll take that information for next time, right? I find that when I'm hot and when I'm here, most of the time, people are not receiving me well.
Right.
Like there also needs to be reception. And I could also take the accountability and understanding, okay, well, today wasn't my best day, right? I'm going to probably have to shrug it off.
Right. Like waking up in the morning and having a heavy conversation for breakfast isn't always the optimal thing. We have experience in that. And then but we can reflect and be like, you know what? Maybe that wasn't a good time to deliver that message. My bad. Mm-hmm. Like, let's revisit this when we have more capacity. But that's the fact that we have the ability to do that and navigate that already speaks volume to just our capacity and where we're coming from. We're coming from the same or similar moral and intentional places, so we can navigate that with ease. Is it always with ease? No. Was it always with ease? No. But I feel like personally, like even just bringing it to us, like the way that we're able to navigate like heavy situations, it didn't just happen overnight. We've been having a building block of a foundation in our friendship and in our individual growth simultaneously alongside from each other, where if one of us is working on an area and the other one isn't, they're going to be soon, because it's just going to show up in our conversations.
Sure, right.
So it's in that way, like, it's important to always remember too, like, when there's certain things that do become triggering, when it is with your people that, like, you genuinely already know, like, like, they're your people and you're coming from the same thing, they have the best intention for you, like, and for themselves. You can also notice, like, oh, okay, like, maybe I need to work on this area a little more, like, because you get challenged in it, even if it's not directly said, you get challenged in it, because of the people that are close to you showing up for themselves in a certain way. So if you find yourself, like, even on the aspect of bringing it back to the beginning, like, if you find yourself, like, willing to, like, abandon yourself or your tasks or compromise your needs to have an experience or to fulfill whatever it is that you're desiring to go do, and you're noticing that person isn't, like, that person is, like, buckling down, and they're like, yeah, I'll come do this after I'm done doing this. Or yeah, I'll do it. Like, that's triggering and inspiring at the same time.
Absolutely, right. It's like when you're playing a sport with someone. I like to play tennis, and it's nice to play with people who are better than me. It's always refreshing, because you want to play better.
Right.
When you're with someone who's at an advantage, like, you want to be meeting the occasion.
You have motivation
right.
too. You're determined. You're like, I need to be at least on their level, maybe better, but at least on their level, so that I'm not, like, flopping right now. I want to provide them with a challenge or with grace. It depends on what the activity is, but I completely can relate.
Right.
I feel like, I'm sorry, you were gonna say?
No, continue.
I feel like I'm healthily competitive. Like, I'm not a person who's like I need to win. I'm not a sore loser. Like, of course, I'd like to win. Like, I would like to be great at everything the first time I do anything, of course. Like, what do you mean? Like, especially just being, like, a neurodivergent Leo rising, like, of course I want to be good at everything that I start. It's really hard when I'm not, but it's even harder to continue doing something that I kind of suck at. And, like, recently I've been playing pool, and I've been, like, really liking playing pool. I just like the environment. I like the concept of just, like, having an activity while also being outside, but it's not like drinking or, like, partying. It's just, like, chill vibes, but, like, you're still outside and you're doing an activity where you're, like, keeping busy while you're also communicating.
Right.
And first time I played in a while, like, I did pretty decent. Second time I flopped so hard, like, I literally only got scratches in. Like, I did not get any balls in, period. And I was like, this sucks. It sucks to suck. Like, last time, like, I was decent. What happened, But, to unpack a little bit of, like, what happened is, like, I was coming from I worked a double shift. Like, I was exhausted. I didn't even have capacity that day. Maybe even if I did have capacity, I was going to suck. I'm not going to use that as an excuse.
Right.
But the more important thing is, like, I was still like, you know what? I'm determined. Like, the next time I play, like, I'm going to be better. And I played with my friend, and, like, when we went I played this out, but, like, when we went, I actually won one of them, and it was really cool to, like, I lost a few, but then I won. And, like, I talked about this on another podcast. It shows up in different ways at different times, but I do need to give myself the grace and the like, the pat on the back for my resilience. Like, long story short, one of my friends always wanted me to play 2K with him. I didn't want to play. My friend Frank, and, like, then whatever. Eventually, like, I ended up playing. I went to a basketball game. I was inspired. I was like, all right, teach me. I'm like, but don't ever let me win. Teach me, but don't ever let me win. Mm-hmm. If I win, I win. But don't ever let me win. Okay? Okay. Losing for months. Like, I was playing with my friend Big Rob, and, like, losing for months, like, miserably. Like, I'm talking, like, 90 points. Like, and I'm using all-star teams. I'm pulling Michael Jordan out. Like, I'm losing. Like, bad. And I just kept going. And then eventually I was beating my friends that taught me. I was beating my friends that, like, that played for money and stuff, like, RP Clippies, and, like, it was a thing, but I was dragged, like, but I had to have the determination to keep being like, I suck at this, but I'm going to get better, And I feel like if you just take that and you apply that to anything, it could be harder with emotional and conversational things. It's much easier when it comes to like a clear cut goal. But when it comes to like people, you're kind of like, well, why put so much effort in if I don't even know if you're going to be around? I feel like that kind of comes into play sometimes. But I would invite to like change the lens of like, even if that person isn't around, whether romantically or platonically, that job isn't around, whatever, like, you can still put your effort in and like still take that with you throughout the rest of your life.
Right. It's very transferable.
Yeah.
There are many things that are transferable. And I feel like it also goes back to like this defining aspect, because like there is a framework to when we do well. Like I know that if I have breakfast in the morning, I am more poised to do what it is that I need to do on a full stomach. That's usually how I'm operating best.
Right.
And then I also know that if I do stretching, that's something that's going to help me throughout the day.
Well, it's opening up your reciprocity in general, because it's like you're literally like unlocking and making yourself open.
Right. That's true. Right. Just like expanding that.
Right.
It's very true. But like, there's a couple of things that like I just know. Okay. If I do this, it may just set me up a bit better. And then there's days where I don't get to do those things, and I think that's okay as well. But I think in feeling grounded is there are things that can help to support you with that. And if you're trying a new sport or you're trying a new activity, I think majority of the time when you try your first time, you're going to sink.
Right.
That's okay. That's part of it.
Have the willpower and the passion to keep trying and do better and keep doing it and keep going.
Keep going. It's going to take a bit, and as adults, there's setbacks, right?
We don't want to look stupid either.
Right. Like we don't want to look stupid.
But you know what's cool? Mm-hmm. Looking stupid and keep on trying.
Right.
When someone like does like bad and then they're just like, I'm like, go off. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Love that.
There may be some people who find you cringe, and you know what? And there's plenty of other people who are like, that person is really cool. I like that they put themselves out there. And like you said, right, we're going back to the things that underlyingly trigger us, and maybe you starting a new task and being bad at something, maybe there's something underlying in that person too. Maybe you're putting yourself out there, being playful, and maybe that's not something they're used to anymore. As we grow as we grow into adolescence, it's not something that we tap into all the time. And, let's not try to make this into a Lindsay Lohan Mean Girls movie. Right. Let's try to give everyone the space.
Yeah.
To be their best selves. Yeah.
Word.
Right.
Well, yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap this pod up?
I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And I hope that for folks out there who may not feel, maybe they're unsure of whether or not they should start a new project, or maybe a new activity, a new sport, a new hobby, whatever that may be. Someone had to start from somewhere to get, to where they are now. So I think it's important that you take that next step and maybe surround yourself with other people who are similar in that effect. You know, like you said, the pool thing, right? Being around people who enjoy playing pool helps to get out there to continue to learn how to play pool. And hanging around people, I like to go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock, right? I mean, my best friend doesn't, but I do have friends who understand that I'm gonna be clocking out pretty early, and you know, as long as they're accepting and loving of that, and don't shame you for that, that's probably it's a good sign. It's definitely a good sign.
Well, I feel a little called out, but that's okay.
In the best way possible.
Right. Well, I mean, in my defense, you weren't always this way. This is a newer season for you.
Right. Let's give grace.
Let's give grace.
Let's give grace. Right.
Okay.
But you also listen, just to kind of bring it back in.
I went to sleep early last night.
Yeah, like you do go to sleep early at times. So
I try.
Right. Everyone's got different times for their sauces to activate. So
my sauce activates at night for sure.
So like, so
midday sauce.
No shame in the
sauce.
game, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I have to cut it though, but yeah. There is one right there. So first of all, I mean, thank you so much for coming on here. You were a surprise guest. You know, this was not planned in advance. This was absolutely me calling you in the morning to have our morning chat and being like, hey, you want to just do it in person? Like, what's up? And like you being willing, like, thank you. I really, really do appreciate it. I'm so grateful for you to be here and to share this kind of experience with you. And also to have your voice be heard. I think it's like so important. Like really like just, I find the things that you say so valuable. And I mean, to the point that we talk all the time. And, you know, it's like, you know, the experience of having anybody come on here and be able to amplify their voice is so important. Because not only do I get to hear you, other people get to hear you, but at some point in life, you'll get to hear yourself. And it's like a timestamp for you to revisit. Oh, wow, this is what this version of me was thinking and feeling towards things at this time, you know. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And to conclude the pod and to wrap up the thought, there's 2 things that I would like to just say real quick. One thing is like in regards to like, you know, that same way I was talking about the pool, I've also been doing salsa lessons, and something that I found that's very important, like, you know how people say like, you know, life is like chess, like you can tell a lot from a person playing chess, like you can tell a lot from a person dancing salsa, like either individual or together. And I realized like going to a salsa lesson that like it's something I've always wanted to do, and then I'm finally doing it, and it's like you know, having natural talent, like I can dance salsa to a degree naturally. I always have at like, you know, family parties, but like now I have foundation and now I have numbers, and like let's not even get into the fact that let's just get into the fact that like numbers and structure is evolved. And I think that it's important once again to when you're wanting to stay close to yourself, when you're wanting to not get lost in the mix of life, having foundation. If you have a natural born gift and talent, putting structure to it, putting foundation into it. I mean, I'm triggered all the time. I'm not doing it perfectly. I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it backwards. And then once you start dancing with somebody, that's a whole other element. Now you have to account for their energy and how they're going about it. And there's so much information happening when you're touching somebody else and you're like, oh, wow, this person wants to throw me around, or this person wants to, you know, they're unsure. And then like you're thinking about them, but you're also thinking about yourself. And there's so many aspects to it. Always going back to your foundation, always going back to your feet, going back to your 1, 2, 3, you know, and putting yourself back in whatever that looks like for you. For me right now, it's salsa, but whatever that looks like for you, which at the end of the day is still sauce. Period. It's Thanksgiving Eve. For anybody going out tonight, just be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Do an Uber, call an Uber, you know, have a responsible friend. Whatever the case is, do your best. Try to help tomorrow, if you can. Drink a lot of water. Have fun, but just be mindful. And also, you know, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And I'm not here to guilt anyone for eating food with their family, but I am here to remind you that this is a good time to really like look into the actual history of what happened, and you know, to also acknowledge and honor and you know, if you feel moved to support an indigenous like company, you know, maybe buy some indigenous products for, you know, gifts or something. You know, this is like a good time for that. Like, you don't need to feel guilt and shame for wanting to spend time doing a holiday that we were taught was built off of like something happy, and continuing on that tradition with our families to have a reason to eat together. But at the same token, like acknowledging the actual truth of the nature of like understanding what happened in history, I think is important. And I think it's important for us to teach the youth, and for us to, we don't have to like completely like, you know, just, we don't have to, it doesn't have to be avoided, and we don't have to have shame. There's an in between. So I just want to acknowledge that, and also give space to that for anybody who is celebrating tomorrow. And yeah, see y'all in the gym in next month, because that's usually the chain, the chain effect of Thanksgiving, you know, and after all the holidays. But yeah, did you have something you want to say?
Do you normally wrap up the podcast? Like, can you just like throw a song and like too much sauce? Hey.
Oh my God. You know, I can't because it's live right now, but I wish I could, because I would only be able to put like 5 seconds of it, so it wasn't copyrighted. Mm-hmm. But it is the intro. But you know, yeah, no, I wish I could, but just, you know that mentally too much sauce is on in our hearts. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that.
Signing out.
See you next month.